Allow me to introduce myself. My name is Edward Budaku, and I will be your technical trainer for today's session. Uh, I won't be long with this short introduction, but I think it's worth mentioning a little of my background. So I'm a web developer at core. Uh, I started by learning PHP during high school, and then continued my career into learning web development and software development using web technology. For today, I also brought the PHP elephant to bring us luck for the demos that we will be doing and for the hands-on projects that we are planning to create. In my career, I wore multiple hats from developer to team lead. And in the past year, I got more into the methodologies area in regard to software development, and I acted as an agile coach and consultant for software development teams. I also have a passion for teaching, obviously, since I will facilitate in this session. And I teach web technologies and programming classes at a local university in Bucharest. And I try to be, as much as possible, an active contributor in our local communities. So I'm really grateful for your attendance here and for Bunnyshell for trusting me to facilitate this workshop. It's a premiere for us, so it's a really nice experiment that we're trying to do in a longer format that would allow us to also discuss and debate principles. Hopefully it will be a nice interaction between us and also get some hands-on experience when it comes to creating and putting in practice these kind of principles and practices. So before starting, I still miss the face-to-face training, but I would like to get a feeling of the participants, what kind of experience that you have. And I prepared 2 questions. And if you would like to add a little thing in the chat to also make sure that we have this way of communicating. So I'm really curious, what is your current role and what kind of tech stack are you working with currently? And I know it's a very diverse audience, and I'm very happy to see people from around the world. Maybe you can share with us where are you from, or how is the weather around where you live. I'm in Bucharest now, and it's pretty cloudy. It's a great time to stay in house and get better and learn new technologies. So I'll wait a few minutes for you to briefly present yourself, if you please so, and then I will move forward with the agenda to have a proper lineup for today, and we will deep dive in the topics. Hello, Theodor. Nice to meet you. Thanks for sharing with us. Same here. Okay, so as you can see on the screen, today's session it's structured in two parts. We will have a little break between several topics, since it will be a little longer than a usual webinar. I think it's useful to get a little break. We will see the pace as is the first format of this. But in the first part, we will discuss the topic of DevOps methodology, uh, try to understand the principles and practices, and how we can use Bunnyshell to accomplish a better level of uh, DevOps alignment. Then we will take a 10 minutes break, and we will start a hands-on session. There are some prerequisites that obviously would be required for you if you want to do the things that I will be presenting along with me. So I prepared some handouts to follow along. Obviously, you will need your Bunnyshell account with a cloud provider connected, and we will be doing some little configuration from the command line also to get a feel of how to SSH in the machines that we will be using. So you will need a command line tool that you can use. Aside from that, all the things are set up. So I just shared with you. We will be doing two WordPress deployments using Bunnyshell and a custom setup and a custom deployment with Laravel in the end. And hopefully all the steps are described in detail, so you can follow along, but we will do them together. Then after the hands-on project, we will take some time for questions and answers. Maybe even so doing debugging together if you try to do some of the things now and you experience problems. We reserve some time for this session too. And hopefully we will be closing in time, even if we started a little late to wrap up this session at 7:30 Bucharest time, 11:50 Eastern time. Okay, so I mentioned some prerequisites. I will also be doing them myself before we start with the discussion around DevOps. So I'll already have my account set up and some virtual machines prepared for the demonstration that we will be doing today. In case you don't have yet a cloud provider connected from within your organization, in the cloud provider sections, there are detailed instructions on how to do it. So for example, I will be using DigitalOcean to create the virtual machines and to create the infrastructure for today's presentation. And you have to create a project and obtain the credential there's and connect your account, but you can also use AWS, Azure, Vultr, or Linode for your favorite cloud provider. Mine is already connected. So I already have the virtual machines all set up for today. So the things will be a little easier. But I want to also do them before we start, so you can have a live demo using the interface. So since I plan to do a demo with Laravel and 2 demos with WordPress, I will create a virtual machine for each of the projects that I will be doing. For Laravel, I will go with the Nginx web server. So you have to select the web server type. Then I will be needing PHP and Node.js to build the front end. I also provision a database, the latest version for MySQL, and Redis for some caching. The cloud provider is already connected with me, and in terms of location, I will go for the closest one, choose the operating system, and I will go for the size of the machine, the one that is the smallest with 1 CPU and 1 GB of RAM. And the last thing is to label your virtual machine, and I will call them with the live demo live Laravel. And we can leave the machine to get created in the background as we sit back and learn new topics that would improve us as developers. So for WordPress, PHP, I will need a MySQL database, same location, and Ubuntu as an operating system. And I will call it I also plan to demonstrate a WordPress install using a different web server, just to compare a bit of performance. So I will also create one with open light speed. Same setup, PHP, MySQL for the database. Okay, so while these machines get created, we will dive into some topics around DevOps. So the topic for today, it's DevOps principles and practices and how to put them in practice with Bunnyshell. I have to mention that I'm not an expert myself in DevOps or I'm a DevOps practitioner, but as a developer and trying to help teams improve performance and getting good at their work, I've been trying to learn more and more and to get familiar with different kinds of technologies. I will also share my experience from the position of a user of Bunnyshell. I recently managed to help an NGO with their technical infrastructure, and it was a real pleasant experience to get all the things set up. The people from Bunnyshell are also here with us, and if you have more in-depth question. Hope they can chip in and help me. Now, regarding the DevOps methodologies, I don't want to get you bored with the history, but I think it's worth setting the context a bit and try to think where these things emerged and how they got into practice. I've extracted some references here that we found out about when things appeared. But just to do a little thing, is anyone able to recognize what this could be? Can you see it on the camera? Maybe you could guess, or if you have seen this in a museum of computers. Nope. So we have old school numeric machine. You're getting closer. Instructions sheets, somewhere around there. So it's a punch card system. Remember, if you've seen an old mainframe, people had to punch these things and make holes into pieces of paper like this, and then they will get read by some things that would go through through these pieces of paper, and if they've met a hole, it would mean that it's a 1, and if it wasn't punch, it would mean that it was a 0. So it's very funny for me to look at this and see how the things evolve from the moment when you had to have a real person to carry out a bag of these cards to deploy software. And now all the evolution that we have allows us to make a few clicks and to create instances of virtual machines all over the world. So I think the entire community, it's moving at a very rapid pace today. And myself, I've been witnessing in the past years the development of methodologies, both methodologies for organizing teams, and I think here about Scrum and Kanban and things like that. But in the past year, these terms of DevOps emerge, that we can see it both as a cultural movement, because in the original stories, people have seen a gap between the development teams and the operation teams, and try to bring them together so that they can work in a harmonious way and create a trusting and open environment. So there are some references along the time, and I think they are useful to get a feel of how the community evolve. One that I personally like is the book from Janet Jim called The Phoenix Project. I remember I read it last year during the Christmas vacation. So it's written as a novel, and it presents the story of an IT manager that struggles with all the hard things of deploying software in a legacy organization that had more like a traditional approach of selling products, and they are trying to become digital. And the main character, along with other characters from that book, experience all kinds of issues when it comes to keeping the websites of the company up and running, when it comes to deploying new software, when it comes to the relationships between developers and operation peoples, and is the kind of book that really puts you there in the story. And in the end, it has a positive outcome. The guy that is running the IT department manages to bring together all the people and uses some inspiration from the lean methodologies and what happens in a manufacturing plant to better connect the two teams that were split. So one side of the story is this philosophical part of bringing people together. I think there's another side of the DevOps that can be briefly defined as having a set of principles and practices that allows us to improve the time to market while maintaining high quality. So we want speed from the teams that we are working with. We want speed because the market is asking, the customers are becoming more and more demanding. But with software development is always hard to keep the same quality while balancing the need for speed. I also brought a series of characteristics that I think they are worth debating. And I always debate with myself, and I get to think out loud. And maybe if you feel the need to also add your point of view, please do it. I always debate with myself if these characteristics can really refer to software or to technologies, or there are more like characteristics that refer to teams. So I chose for our conversation to discuss about reliability, performance, scalability, and maintainability. So I think these are some good references when you start to think about the needs when a team can have, or the needs the customer might have when it comes to improving the entire process. So I will try to take them one by one and give my own interpretation. And again, feel free to post your own challenges or problems around these topics, if you please, so in the chat. So I think reliability is the one that I have the most struggles to grasp, if it's a characteristic of software or if it's a characteristics of the teams. And I tell you why. My opinion is that software is in a constant state of not working. When it's like the Schrodinger's cat. If no one is accessing the software, if no one is on your website performing certain action, your software is actually not working. Only having a code there on the server doesn't make it work. So now in the references I've been reading, reliability is the capability of a system to perform consistently and to be available in certain conditions. But this means that the products that we are building need to respond to a customer, and the product that we are building are usually owned by some teams. So I think what people really want from this characteristic is have a team that is reliable and have team that have the tools to respond quickly. It's very useful to be able to provide metrics in this space and the entire DevOps movement is very reliant on being very transparent and presenting the truth of the system. Like, for example, having an open list of defects that is accessible to all the stakeholders, having an SLA in relation to downtime, or presenting any errors that might occur as open as possible. So this is why I think this characteristic might also refer to how we perceive teams that act in this philosophy of DevOps. Moving forward, nowadays customers really expect their application to respond with speed, and they want a very fluid experience from us. So any sluggishness or any delays on performing a certain action is quickly penalized by the customers. You can either experience drop-offs from your meaningful journeys in your application, or a high bounce rate if your software is not performing at the level expected by the user. But again, we can also shift this characteristic towards the team. So we also want teams that need to perform quickly. We want to have automated processes and the right tools to be monitoring the team activity and allow them to deploy as much as possible, as quick as possible on the infrastructure that is provided. I'm trying to look a bit at the chat or if is someone who wants to share their own experience with performance, especially that Black Friday is coming around the world, and we also had it in Bucharest last week. How do you experience this need for performance? So Theodore, you experience it as a customer, I guess. Okay, moving forward. With another concept that is tightly related with DevOps concern. You probably heard this mantra of being able to scale the application that we build, being able to have an infrastructure that is both elastic, it can go up when you have high demands, or it can go down when the demand is low. Again, I think this is a characteristic that can get also translated to teams, because nowadays teams are also a living organism and are very dynamic. So you have to get the infrastructure in place and the culture in place to be adapted as the way your organization is growing. Maybe you have a very diverse team with people coming, doing certain projects, then leaving for other companies. So you also have to put this in account when creating a scalable system. I don't think it only relies to software, but also having the tools and practices in place to rapidly onboard new people and to sustain your team growth. I've seen a lot of teams that started from a bunch of people that were working together, and in less than 1 year they went from 10 15 people to 17 people, and this kind of rapid onboarding put a lot of pressure on the company to change their processes and to have better and structured procedures for the people to become productive as soon as possible. And in the end, obviously, we want code that is very maintainable, and we want to make it very easy to read, to modify it, and to extend it. I think software is the kind of thing that can get very complex very fast. And if you buy a machine, for example, it's very easy for you to understand that that machine needs some kind of maintenance, and there are different stages of maintenance, and at different moments in time, you need to replace certain parts. But with software development is it's a little strange, because most of the project become more expensive and run more use more money after the initial launch. So I've been involved in project that had an initial launch of, let's say, 6 months, but then they spread it throughout the years, and you had to continually adapt the software to have other people change it. So maintainability, I think this is the one that is most related with actual building software, but you can also translate it into a team characteristics, because you have to be able to maintain good relationships within a team, and to continuously improve yourself as a team, always be in shape, always try to learn new things, and to get better at what we are doing every day. Okay, I'll try to make a pause now. Maybe it's someone that would like to add on these concepts. So what is your take on performance, maintainability, scaling, and reliability? If you would like to share it openly or in the chat. Okay, so I have one from Karan. Regarding scaling, could you differentiate between vertical and horizontal scaling? Yes, I'll try to take that from my own experience. So in terms of infrastructure, when we refer to vertical scaling, it would mean to increase the resources that you have for your machines. Maybe you have a system that has all the applications and all the stack within a single machine, and you can scale it in terms of memory, compute, or uh, disk size. And On horizontal scaling, you would keep the same size of the machine and create multiple instances. It could be either for databases that get replicated or for the web servers that get replicated and have some sort of load balancing within uh, within the infrastructure, and it would allow to spread multiple users on different machines. So hopefully I get them right, but we have the Bunnyshell experts here. So please correct me if I don't. I didn't. Thank you for also thank you for your questions. Uh, we will also get to see them within the Bunnyshell tool and how you could accomplish that. But first of all, I would like to move forward if there are no questions within this part of looking at DevOps as a philosophy and what kind of principles drive the improvements on software development. I know there's also another part where you can see DevOps as a role within the organization. So I try to explain a bit the characteristics in terms of how I see DevOps as a team. But there's another side where DevOps has become established as a particular role or as a particular person within the organization. And honestly, if you look at the entire list of responsibilities, uh, there's definitely also a room for someone to help in teams. But in the same times, from my own experience, I'm seeing that there's a trend of empowering people to manage their infrastructure and to become both a developer and an operation person, and to integrate different kind of knowledges. There are different debates around these topics, if it should be a specific role or the responsibilities should be shared within a team. Uh, okay, let's move next to what is Bunnyshell and how it can help you in this journey. So Bunnyshell is a self-service infrastructure automation that allows you to do simple, fast, and automatic builds, deployment, management, scale, and optimization of your application, regardless of the cloud provider that you are using. I really felt this on my own as a developer, a little rusty developer that didn't code it in a while. I had the chance to do a project for an NGO here in Bucharest. They are delivering workshops for young people that are in search of a job and they are trying to get redefined in their career. So obviously all the pandemics hit them very hard because they were doing live workshops and now they had to move into a digital infrastructure. And they had a lot of struggles with their existing assets, like the presentation website, another platform that allows young people to self-assess their abilities and their type of personality. So I try to help them with with some time and some guidance in the past month, and Bunnyshell really came very handy for me, and I really felt this self-service promise that is making, because even though I'm not an expert in infrastructure, with their guidance from the support and by using the interface, I was able to help the people from the organization. So this is my personal experience, and maybe I could share a bit of the infrastructure that I built for them, but mainly in terms of the main pillars that Bunnyshell offers as a solution. There's the infrastructure side that allows you to manage your infrastructure, create automatic deployments, do provisioning for the resources that you use. Also has tools for configuring more complex setups that would involve a load balancer, uh, like the ones we discussed earlier a bit, and to configure auto scaling and self-healing services that could restart themselves in case of failure. Then there's the layer of the applications that provides you automation for popular application in the industry, allows you to create deployments, manage all kind of activities that are related to those applications, like configuring automatic crons, doing the management of your domains, and have the application secured with HTTPS. And on the DevOps side, um, Bunnyshell allows you to also create your custom development recipes, and comes in with the kind of tools that a more complex team would need, like gather logs from different services, allow you to do monitoring and get alerts in real time, uh, even get the kind of metrics that a team might provide for its stakeholders, like demonstrating uptime or building more confidence for your stakeholders that your system is backed up, and in case of failure, you can recover uh, pretty quickly. In terms of how it works, the entire process should be pretty easy and fast, and you should be able to adopt it within your team. Uh, you start by connecting your cloud infrastructure, uh, and it allows you to use both public clouds or on-premise machine, or create a hybrid infrastructure. Then Bunnyshell acts like an orchestrator, so it controls those resources and does all the configuration needed for you. Uh, the next step would be using it as a deployment mechanism, so you can connect your favorite versioning system uh, Git and use it as a way to make automated deployments. And it comes built in with several deployment strategies that you could use. I think today in the hands-on part, we will mostly be using some basic one machine examples, but you can do deployments on several machines that are spread across multiple regions. And you can use it also to optimize your applications and get better performance. So in a nutshell, Bunnyshell can be the go-to platform for your entire DevOps practices. So if you have a little patience before we go into the hands-on side, I will try to depict a bit the kind of challenges and the kind of practices by trying to create a little story of a team that is trying to migrate to Bunnyshell and see what kind of practices they might want to adopt. So I really like to do these whiteboard sessions with all the teams that I'm working at. I think this is the part I miss the most from having a team in the same room, because we could gather at the whiteboard and at least try to bring some clarity for the problems that we are dealing with. So for today, let's try to imagine a bit the experience of a team trying to get the DevOps practices up and running. So usually DevOps is depicted as some kind of infinite loop of processes. Uh, and ideally, you want to create a continuous loop of delivering software. But I think it's pretty useful to start with the step-by-step approach. So I'm imagining a team that is comprised of, let's say, Alice, that is a backend developer, and Bob, that is a front-end developer. And I'm trying to imagine the line of time, even if it's linear for now. So Alice and Bob both work on their local machine, and they try to create and craft their software with the latest best practices. They tune up their machine, their IDE, and they try to create their easy to use local environment. Then, as the software gets shipped, they try to put it in a testing environment where we have Chris, and Chris is the QA guy. He wants a really good software shift to their people, and he's trying to not to miss any bugs. So they already established this policy of publishing their application into a testing environment that he is managing. Then we have Diana, who's the product owner, and struggled really hard to make a ritual for the team so they don't go into production without doing a demo. And she's the guardian of the staging environment. And once everything merged there and prepare for doing presentations to different key stakeholders in the organization. And in the end, we have the customers that are very anxious to get the latest software shipped into production. and they have really high expectation of the uh, from the software that Alice, Bob, Chris, and Diana are delivering. They want their application to be constantly up. They don't want to feel interruption. Either they are public customers or internal customers. So if I was probably to do a retrospective with these people, they would tell me that the things they need to do a better job are things like automatic deployments, because they have to move code around all these local testing, staging, and production environment. They already use Git as a versioning system, and they are wondering if they can uh, use it to do automatic deployment. Then obviously a lot of problems might appear either on the testing or staging on production environment. And from their retrospective, we learned that they want some kind of system that would allow them to aggregate logs and to see them in a central place. So log aggregation is on there to do. But they also feel the need not only to look in the past in the logs, they also feel the need to have some kind of real-time monitoring on all their environments. So this came up as a point to their retrospective. And since the business is growing and it has started to gain some popularity, more and more customers are joining the platform. So they experience load issues and they figure out they would like to have some way of uh, doing auto scaling and some way of load balancing between different machines. So this was quite a retrospective for the team. I'm curious now what kind of issues you personally experience within your teams or within your projects, if you can share it in the chat. Do you recognize these kind of problems that our DevOps team is experiencing, and what would there be? So we have automatic deployments from Theodore. Thank you, Theodore. Managing the staging environments from Silvio. Thank you, Silvio. Multiple production environment. This is a very interesting one. I think we will at least we will get some path of on or a little understanding on that kind of problem. I think is the first time I hear about multiple production environments. Do you mean for the same application? Wow, interesting. Okay, I want to give a check on the time. So I think we're a little late with this introduction, but hopefully it made sense for you. So by the end of the workshop, I will also provide some references and some links. Uh, so I propose to maybe shorten a bit the break to only take 5 minutes break, and then we will move on with the hands-on workshop if it's okay with you. Okay, we have one thumbs up. Great. Okay, so we will get back in 5 minutes. I'll stretch a bit and make sure everything is prepared. Hopefully by now all the machines got configured, and we can move along with the setup and to discuss on the Bunnyshell platform. Okay, see you in 5 minutes. Okay, I'm back. I will wait for 1 more minute before we start with the hands-on part of this workshop. And hope you had a good stretch. Now, sitting at the computer all day really puts a pressure on our body. So I try to uh, at least get some breaks from time to time and sit up, move around the house, and try to do something else besides sitting at the computer. Okay, before moving to the hands-on part, where we deploy some application and create some environments for our virtual team, uh, I would like to know if is anyone planning to do the things as I'm doing them, or and it has experienced any issues like connecting their cloud environment or things like that. Okay, I also promise that I will share a bit on my own experience uh, of using the platform. So I would like to share with you first some key features that were pretty useful for me in the process of learning to deal with this tool. Obviously, the intercom feature was pretty useful for me, and the people from Bunnyshell always responded very quickly. So and helped me with the uncertainties that I have, and replied in a very timely manner. So I like to thank them both for their help and for the tool that they are creating. Another key feature that was pretty useful for me, both in terms of learning and in terms of getting better organized, is the fact that you can create multiple organizations. So you can either work with multiple customers if you're the kind of agency or a freelancer that has multiple customers, and each organization has its own cloud providers and its own billing and user management systems. So for the example, for the NGO that I work with, this part was very helpful because I could connect their DigitalOcean provider, and then within the user section, I was able to invite both the stakeholders from the organization, like the people that are running the platforms, and the developers from different agencies. And it really eased the process of exchanging credentials, like different people from the development team have sent me their public key so I could deploy it on specific servers, and we didn't have to exchange any sensitive data within their emails. So I think it's a key feature that brings the team together in one space and allows you to get better organized. In terms of the configuration, the challenges for this specific project was first of all to migrate their existing website. So they were on a shared hosting environment, and they run multiple WordPress websites on that share hosting environment. Uh, their website was very slow, like the initial time load was around 8-9 seconds. uh, the people from the organization complained a lot about not being able to do edits on the website, not being able to publish content and to publish their campaigns uh, on social media because of this high load time. They also have a running process project now that is prepared to go live, and a development team from an agency that is actively developing. So they needed uh, some way to deploy their staging environment and their production environment, because the testing environment was already provided by the agency. Um, so I found Bunnyshell pretty easy to use, and I could get everything all organized here. And here you can see a big picture of their setup. So what I created for them was a bunch of virtual machines of different sizes. For the example, for the WordPress websites, I created one machine with one CPU and 1 GB of RAM. For the staging environment, 1 CPU and 2 GB of RAM. And for the production environment, we don't prepare for much traffic now, so we started with 2 CPUs and 4 GB of RAM. Uh, their cloud provider is DigitalOcean. So we managed to do all the setup from this place. Now, in terms of applications, what I deployed for them and what we will be doing in the hands-on demonstration was 2 WordPress instances, uh, one for clone because they have a bunch of people that are learning to publish, how to publish content and how to write articles, and want to have like a sandbox where to play, and another one for their public website. And now I think we can see that everything is loading pretty fast. You don't want to see the old website. Then another one, a machine for their staging environment for a Laravel project, and obviously the production one. And both of them are deployed automatically from Git. So I'm trying to replicate this kind of projects. If you want to follow along, I tried to be descriptive with each step that I've made. So in these handouts, I think I already sent them, but just to make sure, if there are people that joined a little late, I will share them again. And I will start with the deployment of WordPress and also migrating the content from an existing site, and then do a custom deployment using the Git connected account for a simple Laravel application, just to demonstrate how you can do a more complex setup involving database secrets and things like that. Okay, I'll switch back to my demo organization. So I already have the virtual machines created. And as you noticed, Bunnyshell allows you to deploy on multiple technology stacks. So the usual process would be to figure out what kind of web server you need, then specific programming languages that are required for your project, the persistent layer, you can choose between different databases that will get installed on that machine with different storage systems. You can choose to deploy on your connected cloud environments, figure out the location. So usually you would use the one that is closest to your users, the operating system that is preferred, and then size the machine according to what you expect in terms of usage. So you can have machines that have more CPUs if they're very compute intensive, or if you store a lot of things in memory, you could go for a machine that has more memory. So this is a little research that needs to be done and a little bit testing, but you can also change as we are doing for the organization from one size to another size as the needs become more complex. Since I already have them, I will move along with doing some deployments on these virtual machines. So on the application side, I already have the ones that I did yesterday for testing, but it's fairly easy to create a new application. Simply go to create application. If you already have an existing web server, an existing virtual machine, you can choose it from the list. So let's start with the Laravel one. And I will hit create application. Then you will get prompted to select the application that you want created. In this case, the Laravel framework. Provide a name and hit create application. And this will get the process started of deploying the application on the server that you have connected. It will also create a domain within this Bunny root namespace that you can access further on. And we will further see what other goodies you will get by deploying the application. I'll move next to also create the WordPress instances. So you can do multiple deployments in parallel. So I want to deploy WordPress on, I think I misspelled it here. So for this one, I'm choosing WordPress. And create the application. And I also want to provision one application on the Open Lightspeed, just for comparison. So the third one should go on the demo live WordPress Open Lightspeed. Obviously, naming is pretty important, so you should be a little explanatory, like I tried here. for other people to know what kind of resources and what kind of applications you have deployed. And for this one, let's go with demo. Okay, so in a few minutes, I should get some updates on this application, and they will get deployed. But let's move a little to the ones that I already prepared to see how simple it is to get all the information that is needed for you to work on those machines. So if I will go to the WordPress one, this is the application level configuration. So in the overview section, you have the application URL, the one that is predefined within the bunny root space. Then each application is deployed in its own user and in its own database. So for WordPress application, you will get the database credential that are specific and already configured for you within our WordPress. In case you want to log in using the HTTP protocol to upload content, on the right hand, you get the application credential along with the IP, the path where the application was deployed, and the specific user for that application. And there's a default install provided, and you can get the admin credential for your WordPress install. In the next section, you could add multiple crons or things, do cron management. It's a bit out of scope for today, but you have an interface that's is required, and a lot of things you can do on your machines don't require to SSH in the machine. Another feature that I think is useful is you can put your website in maintenance and automatically configure the redirects. You can get default certificates, HTTP SSL certificates from Let's Encrypt for both the domain that you have configured or any secondary domain that you used. And of course, when launching an application, you want to have a personalized domain, so you can configure one from the domain sections. Application also come in with the backup and backup process, or you could restore at a specific point in time. And for this particular application, the deployment is happening automatically, so you have the WordPress all set up. So no need to get the code from a different place, because this is getting in as a one-click install application. Okay, let's move back to the applications. Hopefully by now they got created. Okay, so I have the Laravel website that is bringing in the default theme for Laravel, and My plan is to replace it with a custom one that I stored on my GitHub account. Then we have the default WordPress install, and it's a slightly changed theme here. So what I want to do is to migrate from an existing website that I already have created. And then for the sake of comparison, I also prepared a third virtual machine with open light speed that allowed me to install WordPress. Before moving forward, I would like to stop a bit. So if you have any questions, if you manage to figure out how the application and the virtual machines get created, and maybe you also created them for yourself. So regarding backups, is there a way to schedule it? So I only saw the on-the-fly option. We have one question from Theodor. I have to admit, I don't know very in depth all the features and all the options. So maybe if someone from Bunnyshell can help. If no, I will definitely take that questions and get back with you. I know there's the option. Okay, thank you, Silvio, for. Okay, thank you, Silvio, for answering that. Other questions or things that might get you blocked within this demo? So Florin is asking, what if I want to start a VM with more than just WordPress on it? So for example, with a specific set of plugins. I don't think this is yet managed by Bunnyshell, but as soon as you get the WordPress configuration, so for example, please let me share the screen. So as soon as you get your configuration, you could log in to that instance and add your own plugins. But I don't think now that it's something supported to also tick specific plugins when starting the application. But what you get is the pre-configured user. So for example, I can get my credential here, and then I will go on the WordPress admin route. And in the end is the basic install. I think, I'm not sure, but I think application templates will come, and maybe Silvio can also provide more details this kind of coverage is also supported to like extend an application with specific plugins. But I think those internal setup of different frameworks would be more complex to achieve. So for now, what you get is the default WordPress install. Myself, I will be adding some plugins to demonstrate the import process. So I think there are multiple ways how you can tackle the import of your existing content. One would be to use the FTP user and simply upload your existing content and upload your database using the credential provided. So that would be the one that will involve a little extra effort from your side. One thing that I found pretty useful is this plugin. I also need my reference here, called All-in-One WordPress Migration. And what this plugin does, once you activate it, you will get the possibility to export your website. So get all the content that is listed there. The one that comes here is already set up, so only 6 megabytes of data. So this would export your entire content from WordPress, both the database and the content, in an archive, and then you can reuse it to upload your content. In the import section, you can choose a file. They do provide multiple ways of importing. So for example, you can add the archive from a Dropbox, but obviously all of these are paid. For the file option, we would need to override the initial settings. So in my case, the maximum upload file size is 20 megabytes. So probably this will also will be possible through the interface, but it brings me the chance to demonstrate how you can SSH into those machines and do a little configuration on the PHP side. So in order to do that, on the server, on the virtual machine, so I plan to do it on the Nginx one. You can see the details of your IP. And in the Access tab, this is the part where you can manage your keys that are allowed to connect to that machine. So you can start by adding them within your organization in your SSH keys section. There are some that will get generated automatically, so you can download them from here. So I would need the private key and the public one from a colleague of mine if I want to give him access to a specific machine. Then getting back to that virtual machine, you can add multiple persons that have access to this machine. You can even create different users and allow them to have root privileges or not. So I already have the keys downloaded. So what I want to do is to SSH into this machine. In order to update the PHP details. So I will issue the command SSH -e to specify the path where my private key is. On my Windows machine, I stored it on my users sections within the SSH folder. And I like to keep them organized by different organizations. I have the developer sections and the private key. And the second parameter is the path to the machine that contains the username, Bunnyshell, and I'll simply retrieve the IP from this one. Okay, you have to accept the fingerprint. And in the end, what you get is live access to that machine. So in terms of updating the PHP settings, for now you have to do it manually, as I'm doing it. A little headache for me to locate where the actual file is. So I need to change the FPM version so I can add it from within the command line. Then search for each property. And simply updates those constraints. So I choose to do a migration with a pretty large file because I usually run in a lot of problems. So I'm changing the max upload size, the post max size, the memory limit. Then maybe it's useful to increase a bit the execution time. Let's give it 600 seconds. And the max input time, it's already set to unlimited. So you have to exit with Control X and save the changes. And after doing that, we need to change the body size for Nginx2. So this is stored in ATC Nginx config. Open that file and locate the client max body size. And also increase it to 2 gigabytes. And to get the setup updated, you will also need to restart Nginx. And now I should see the value getting updated. So a little workaround to import the larger file, and things can get a little messy with WordPress. So for example, if I move now to actually import my website, it already got to 1 gigabyte after adding a lot of pictures, a lot of videos, and numerous plugins that we installed there. And probably it will take a little while to get everything updated, considering the size of the archive. But I found this that it would be the easiest way to migrate your WordPress content. No need to download it, no need to connect to the FTP, and you can simply use this archive. Okay, hopefully you got a little feel on how to use Bunnyshell to also retrieve your details and how to locate the credentials and not the credentials, but the keys that you want to use for logging into that machine. I also felt that it was pretty useful in terms of collaboration, because I could reach out to the developers that I'm working with and ask them for their public key, and then within the SSH keys, simply upload their keys and then give them permissions to specific machines. So no more need to change root credentials or create different users, and you can have them all in one place. And I can also imagine maybe an instance where you want to have someone externally for your team to maybe do a security audit, and this would be very useful for providing access to their infrastructure by creating them a user and adding the keys needed to perform the audit. I'm a little unaware of the time that we have for the rest of the demo. Silvio, can you help me a bit with the schedule? Are we still on track, or? We are a bit late. Okay, I will try to hurry up a bit. Maybe skip the demo with the open light speed. Obviously, it's the same process because it involved WordPress, and I will try to move on with the Laravel example. So for the Laravel example, I already created the virtual machine, and I already deployed the default application, the one-click application. But what I would like to do is to demonstrate how to connect your own repository. I will simply let the import finish. So what we like to do is to demonstrate how to connect your own repository. So I have some examples for that to prepare and how to configure a custom deployment. Obviously, on these machines, you can add multiple applications. So I already have the Laravel 1 installed, and this gave me the database credentials, and it created the database. And for this one, the path where the application gets deployed. But I could also add maybe custom applications on the same server. So in order to do that, Bunnyshell allows you to manage multiple repository within the organization. So you can either give access to your GitHub, GitLab, or Bitbucket account, or add a custom repository. So for example, I already have several repositories prepared. One would be a public one. And in this case, you have to label the repository public PHP repo. Choose the repository type public and provide a remote URL. In this case is the SSH one. Oh, sorry, I think I already have it. Okay, the gods of the demo are not with me today. I think I know what I did. I created them before and then I deleted them. So this might be an issue. But let me try to deploy an application with the GitHub that I already have connected. So on the virtual machine, you can go to the application level and create a new application. For this instance, I will create a custom one and a PHP application. And for the Laravel one, I will create a custom deployment. So in the deployment sections, you can configure a new deployment from scratch. You can already select the framework that you are using. So I will be using a custom application, choose the repository that I already created, that I already connected. And there are some configuration to be made. I need to specify the deploy path on the server. So, and the application user on that specific server. And since I already have the application created, I will simply go to the overview section and copy the deploy path so that my custom code will go in the application that was already provided for me. And the username. And this creates the setup for the deployment that I need. Then there are several steps that you have to do. First of all, specify the server where you want that application to be deployed. Then configure the application secrets. So obviously within my repository, I have the configuration that is specific for one environment. And I need to use the sample and configure things like the database connection, the application environment, the local key. So Bunnyshell allows you to start from one specific sample that you use as local environment variables. So I have to specify here the .env.example file to start from. Then the file that gets outputted in the end. So what I want is to create a .env file. And you also need to specify the file format. In this case, it will be bash. And then either import all the secrets from a CSV file or add them one by one. So I'll go for adding them up one by one. So from the overview, I want the database to be configured, then the username, and the password. And I will simply retrieve them from the application where that was created. So the username, database, and the password. The next thing you need to configure is specific deploy steps. So I know it's a Laravel application, so I have to issue the composer install, and you get predefined templates that you can use. And you have already the code, or you could add custom commands by creating your own script. Okay, so I configured the deployed path, the application path, and the method that I want to use for releasing the application. So you can either go for a symbolic link or for copying the entire content of the application. I will go with copy. Okay, I think the last step would be to also connect the server. So I have to add it in the deployment. And now simply get back in the overview and start the deployment process. Silvio, how much time do we have? Did we run also over the Q&A session? We have 30 minutes. Okay. Okay, in the meantime, the website was imported. So now if I refresh the page, you can see my face and my partner face. Yay, at least we have one running. So uh, if that file is already within your repository, I think what you can do is simply execute it as a deploy step. So one way I would do it is version also that file within the repository and then create a new script that triggers that file, if it makes sense for you. But again, now obviously there are a lot of use cases and a lot of edge cases. How this section is provided is to allow you to create or reuse templates and combine different steps. So probably you'll need to do some tests of if that thing is actually working. Okay, I think now we have the application set up. So on the live side, I'm getting a server error. So this is a good opportunity for me to figure out what happened and to showcase the kind of logs that we have available. So on the virtual level machine, you can have two options. One is to do live monitoring. And to get data regarding the CPU utilization, the load in the memory. And on the log side, you are able to retrieve logs from each of the service that was provisioned. So you can get the logs for MySQL, Nginx, PHP, Redis, or the system logs. Let's see if the PHP is showing some errors. Okay, if I remember correctly, last time I tried to do the Laravel demo, I had the error because I forgot to provide one more thing for this. So I didn't configure the application key to get the cookies and all the security set up. So maybe I can retrieve it from the last server. So on the deployment, I think I forgot to add the app key. So I'm getting back in the demo live one that I'm doing, adding an extra key for the secrets and provide that application with a key. And then simply redeploy the application. Okay, now the secrets should have been updated. Okay, maybe I should also try to SSH in that machine and see if the file, I forgot to take this. So export to deploy config file. So and save and deploy. And let's make sure that the file actually gets created. So I have to get back on the server. And SSH in that machine. Go to the application path. And see if the environment file got created. So I have to cat dot environment. Okay, so I have the API key, the credential for the database updated. Yay! I managed to do a Laravel deployment. Obviously, now if I do some edits on this repository, I can get back to my deployment and issue a full redeploy of the application. So you also get to see the logs of each moment when the application gets updated and see detailed steps of everything that is happening in the background. So this is another useful feature because you don't actually need to go into the machine and to see what is happening. So I think with this one, I'm kind of over with the demonstration that I prepared. There was one more to do with the open light speed example. For this one, I can simply share my experience that it was moving from the shared hosting to the setup that I created with Open Lightspeed. Was the performance improvement was simply incredible. So we moved from 8 to 10 seconds time to first byte when loading any page of the WordPress website to now I think everything loads in less than hundreds of milliseconds for that setup. And everybody from the NGO is pretty excited that they can use WordPress to their full potential, and they actually have a usable website. Okay, so I think for the hands-on part, this concludes the demonstration. Now I think we have a few more minutes for open discussion and question and answers, and maybe some debugging on your side if you manage to do it in parallel.
Can we use the microphone? Hello?
Yeah, sure.
Hi. So,
Hello, Florin. Nice to see you again.
yeah, nice to see you too. So our use case is a bit complex, as I mentioned. We are basically providing e-commerce websites to our customers that are hosted on Azure virtual machines right now. So we are provisioning a WordPress installation with a lot of plugins and theme and settings for each of our customer. Packing everything in a virtual machine and basically just sending them the credentials to the admin and making some changes. So in our use case, how do you think the Bunnyshell will fit into?
So let me rephrase a bit to see if I
Yes,
got it right. So besides the fact that you do the deployments for your customers, like each deployment has its own virtual machine and its own Bunnyshell setup, you also pre-configure those deployments with some plugins.
Yes. Each web store has to meet some standards as having a specific theme, WooCommerce installed, a lot of custom plugins made by us, and a few content pages customized by each customers.
But there's a feature I know that, but I personally didn't use it very much to know how it behaves. But on for example, on the virtual machine, after you have done all the configuration, I know there's an option. Is there an option to clone or to create a snapshot from that and then recreate the machine from that snapshot? So, but this is only me trying to think of a workaround. I don't think it's something.
So you are suggesting that first we would have to configure a baseline virtual machine on Bunnyshell and then replicate that to each new customer that we have.
Yeah. But I don't know if it's actually the Bunnyshell way, or I only try to think of a
I can intervene.
Yeah.
So if it's a solution that you are using all the time, for each of your clients, it's easy to just do it the first time, on a virtual machine, and then use the backup solution to migrate it on another machine. So it's pretty simple. Basically, you just do a backup of your, let's say, template solution, and then you just move that using a restoration on another virtual machine or a web server. So it's a workaround. It's not let's say a functionality dedicated for that. We have something in mind, and we're thinking about, like Edward said, to be able to migrate or to copy an existing application to another server. For now, it's just this way it's possible to, let's say, copy or deploy the same application on a different virtual machine.
Okay. I think I got the answer. Thanks.
So this is the beauty of workshops, because you can get also creative. Thanks, Florin, for asking, and thank you, Silvio, for contributing.
Thank you.
We also have one from Alberto. So in the Laravel deploy, it would not be convenient to pull the share folders as vendor, for example. Can you describe a bit, elaborate a bit I'm not sure I'm getting the, so is the vendor that I'm I would use the packages that would get installed with Composer to also version them, or I'm not getting the question. Okay, I have to be honest, it's probably a thing that I need to dig deeper because I'm not really up to date with all the setup Laravel uses. So sorry for not being able to answer that. Yes, with that option, you are able to exclude some files from within. So exactly things that like the public folder or a section that where the files get uploaded, for example, for a user, you can exclude them there and they won't be copied. Thanks for clarifying. Are there any other questions?
What's the plan? What are the packages? Can you present a bit? What are the standard packages of Bunnyshell?
In terms of what application?
Pricing
What
and,
other?
we are interested in WordPress.
So I think here Silvio can help me out with all the details regarding pricing, and so I'm more prepared for the technical part of the conversation.
I can
Because I'm not.
I can give an answer here. So currently the pricing was done on a compute unit level, and we found that this was not pretty friendly for our customers. So probably starting on Monday, we're launching a new subscription plan. So there will be, let's say, packages of up to 5 servers, up to 15 servers, and up to 30 servers. So can't divulge now
The price, yeah, okay.
prices, but on Monday we'll have a new pricing system, because basically this is what we were working since 2 months now. It's on one hand side the subscription plans and integrating them into our product, and as well launching 2 new products, we call them. It's called log aggregation and enhanced monitoring for advanced monitoring, and as well log aggregation using LK stack for things. So starting on Monday, we'll have this available on our website. So what is now available on the website, it's we won't use that model anymore.
Great. So it's good that I asked this before checking this website, even that
Yeah.
it's not a good practice.
Yeah, so basically the pricing will be on the number of servers you are using, and there are some tiered pricing, let's say, there. For 5 servers will be around $49 per month, if I'm not wrong.
Nice, nice. Okay, good to know. Thank you.
Sure.
Okay, I think we still have a few more minutes. 8 more minutes, if I calculate correctly. It was supposed to finish at 7 o'clock. So if you still have any questions, or if you want to share anything regarding your insights or regarding what we did today, if no, we will prepare for closing this session and moving next. I see there are no more questions. Thank you also for attending our first workshop in this format. So stay tuned because a lot of more content is yet to come. We will definitely improve also this format and in the end get your feedback on it. I'm very happy we managed to also tackle some philosophical aspects of the DevOps community and this movement that is happening around getting better to serve our customers in terms of how we operate and how we deliver software. I felt a little sluggish for the hands-on demonstration, but hopefully you were able to see some of the highlights of the Bunnyshell platform and see how it can be helpful for your team. And looking forward to see you in next events, and thank you very much for attending and staying connected through this presentation. Have a great evening, everybody.
Have a good one. Thank you. It was a very informative presentation. Thanks.
Thank you, Florin. Bye bye all.